welcome back to Book Bus with Jen and Peng. We're back from taking a little for taking a week off. And I was telling Peng yesterday, it feels that we have been gone for like longer.
Yes.
I guess because we're so used to doing this like every single week. It feels weird. I felt like I was missing something. I was like, am I forgetting to do something? But it was amazing. We saw each other last weekend, a week exact. And it was amazing seeing you. It was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again.
Yes.
And I know it was so fun. And we went to the German premiere, which was amazing, which if you haven't yet, episode 1 premiered this Thursday. And by the time this podcast goes up, the second episode should be going up the day after. So Thursday, which means tomorrow. And I come out of that one. Oh my God.
You look fine, girl. Don't be stressing.
I was like cringing on the sofa when that scene came. I was like, no. But it was amazing. The premiere was phenomenal, and we'll talk about our experience in the premiere and all of that next episode. But today's episode is gonna be amazing. We have one of my favorite authors joining us today, and I have so many questions I want to ask her. And I think everybody, and it's so funny because when we announced that we were interviewing this author, I kid you not, I had 4 different people message me saying, are you going to ask her about Max? Are you going to, or you finally have your, your time has come to ask her about Max. And I'm like, okay, you guys don't realize I still message her about Max, weekly. So it doesn't stop me, but it's gonna be fun looking at her face to face and asking her, because sometimes she brushes me off. I bet she's like she's so annoying. But hope you enjoyed today's interview. It's gonna be so much fun. Sit back and enjoy. Today, we have the pleasure of having USA Today bestselling author Natasha Madison, who I think everybody knows is one of my favorites, who it's funny. It's so funny because when we announced that you were coming on, everybody was like, your favorite, finally. I was like, I know.
Meanwhile, I'm like, why hasn't she asked me already? Why? She's had one. Why not me?
I was dying to, and I think I always say it though, because I'm like, I need to see her face to face to ask her so many questions that she always dodges.
I don't
because
dodge.
Same thing. You're just like, so I ask you a question, and then you're like, so what did you think of this? I'm like, okay, so you're not gonna respond the other one.
Deflecting. Welcome to motherhood.
But it's an honor and
blanket. And I'm like, are you gonna wear those shorts out? Is that what you want? So
like, can we go back to the original question, Mom?
It only comes back 3 hours later. I get the text. Oh, so can I get the blanket? And I'm like, fuck.
But yeah, that's how so I was like, finally I can ask her my questions. But it is amazing having you here. I know that I was dying to have you because I've always told Peng we need to have her on there because I have so many stuff to ask her. But thank you so much. I have to say, I read you, I forgot how long ago I picked up your first book, and the first book
Tuesday is going to be 5 years. I published my first book.
Really?
Yeah.
That is awesome. Yeah. Which it brings me to, that's one of our questions, because it's like we do want to ask you how you started writing, and having that be 5 years, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's 5 years on the 27th. And I actually got in. So I was a blogger before.
Really?
I was a blogger before for like 3 years, I think. And then I then I was like you, and I was like, would message the authors and be like, well, what's next? And are you gonna write this? Write this? And can we talk about this?
In my defense, I only ever did that with Max and Ethan. Okay.
Ethan is another story. Ethan is not even supposed to be a story. Does Pang know this story?
No. I don't think I've ever told her the story.
Maybe not Ethan, but Max, yes.
But Ethan, so I finished Southern Storm. And I remember, that book was a lot for me because it was it was challenging to write an angsty story, because usually I don't write angst, or I think it's not angst. But it was just challenging for me to write it, and I knew that everybody was going to hate her to begin with. So I had to redeem her somehow. And it was just like, as soon as I finished, I said, I am never writing another Southern book again, ever. Like, and never. So I sent Jan the final, and then she's like, well, what about Ethan's book? And I'm like, I am going to Starbucks right now. I finished my book. I'm going to Starbucks. So I got in my car, went to Starbucks, was about to order, and Ethan's story literally hit me like freight train. Wow. And I sent her the blurb, and I'm like, this is what's gonna happen.
And it was funny because I remember when I finished reading the book, my message to you was, so what would happen if this and this and that? You're like, shut up, I'm done. I'm not writing his book.
I'm not doing it now. The 7th book is coming out. 7.
That's amazing. But let's rewind a little bit. So you said that on Tuesday,
I was a blogger, and then I started beta reading, which is always fun, always good. And then from there, I had posted a poem for Mother's Day for my children, and Ali Martinez, which she's probably so fucking tired of hearing this story all over the time because I always blame her. She dared me to write a book. Really? I said, I can't write a book. I can write a review. A book is a whole different ball game. Like, so I sat down the next day and I said, let me try. And I remember writing like 9,000 words. And then slowly, every day, like not every day, when I felt like it, I would pick it up and I would write, and then pick it up and write and leave it. And I mean, there's no pressure, right? Nobody. And then I remember Christmas Day, I typed the end of the book. The end, I finished it on Christmas Day, closed the laptop and said, well, I wrote a book. And I did nothing with that book for 4 months. It sat on my computer. And then I said, I'm going to send it to another one of my bloggers, but I won't tell her I wrote it. Because if I felt like if I told her I wrote it, she'd go easy on me and be like, you know, it's not as bad as you think it is. And I actually named the book Kitty Litter because, oh my gosh, I thought it was literally the name of the book was Kitty Litter. And
you would.
And I sent it to her and I said, it's this up and coming author. She's not sure if she wants to write it. She's not sure if she's going to publish it. I like certain parts of it. There's parts I think she can work on. Let me know. And then she messaged me back and she's like, oh my God, this book is so good. He's such an alpha and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. So then I slowly got an editor, and then I I just did it very slowly, like one step at a time. And then I said, okay, I'm going to publish it. And my goal was to have 47 people read it. I don't know why 47, because to me, 47 was like, I was Beyonce. I was Beyonce. I needed the fan for my hair. I wanted 47 people to read my book. And I remember publishing it. A live release. And I went to bed. I took 2 sleeping pills and I said, I did it. And then when I woke up the next day, it was like all these messages like, you have an orange banner and you're a bestseller. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it just snowballed. And then I don't even know how many books I have.
Well, I can say because I know you said that you don't write angst, but I feel like your books, they do have it though. I feel like your heroes are they're so dreamy. And I'm just like, although nobody ever is gonna beat Max for me. I'm just gonna put it out there. But I do have to say that is the first book I picked up from you. That was the first book.
Mistake book. Huh? That book was never supposed to happen.
Then so how did you?
I finished writing Something So Perfect. And I sent it to my beta and they're like, okay, but what happened with Max? Like, did he get caught? Like, and I'm like, oh my God, fucking Max. I don't know what happened with him. Like, then I'm like spinning it and I'm like, wait, because Allison was originally supposed to marry the other guy. Like the other guy on the team. I don't even remember his name. And then I said, I'll just let Allison marry Max. And then it's controversial. No idea what the story was going to be. Or even if I could pull it off. But I'm like, that's going to happen. And then it blew up. Like, that's another thing. Like, also, that book was so easy to write. And I thought it was going to be so hard because he was an asshole. Like, he was.
He was really mean. He was really mean to her.
He called her a bitch the first time. Like,
yes.
But you know, he's got a hard exterior and a heart of gold. And now he's one of my, like, everybody's a Mad Max fan.
That was the first book I read of yours. And it has to be, to this day, my favorite book ever. Like, there's just something about that book. There's something about him that I freaking love. And it's funny because I will not end the year without asking you or telling you I need more Max.
You got more Max. Michael, he's in Michael's book. He's in the 3rd book. He's in the 4th book, which we're not telling anybody who it is because I still haven't announced it, but it's written. So, no, you
never know. You remember how I told you last time people would want more Eminem, like in a newsletter.
I don't even know what they're like. Thelma and Louise. They're like Thelma and Louise and Lucy and the girl she was with. It was. I don't even know how they come up with half the stuff.
So for your writing, did you ever plan on writing romance, or is that something since you were
after the first book, I never thought I would write a second. I was like a one and done.
What made you write your second book then? What made you continue being, writing your books?
Well, I went like from total alpha to then a dark romance. Because I went from Cooper to Jackson, which was,
and they're completely different,
like night and day. And I'm like, nobody else is gonna read me because everybody's gonna buy this book. They're gonna think that they're gonna have like a Cooper. Meanwhile, it's like fucked up and like suspenseful and like dark, and there's drugs and rape and what's wrong with you? So decided I was going to write that story, and I had the twist already in my head. I was like, this is going to happen. The twist is going to happen. And, you know, I was going for the shock value. And then after I finished that one, I'm like, I feel like his partner should get a book. But to this day, I must get at least 2 to 3 emails a week asking for a third book in that
world.
They want Lori's book. And I'm like, you know, they say never, but I can pretty much say I don't think I would ever write back in that world again. It's a very mentally, it's very hard for you to get into that. I don't know how people do it, because I'm like laughing and free, and then I'm like raping people and like kidnapping people. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, can't
but the thing is, it's funny because you say that and then you literally said you write angst books, but you make me cry with your books. It's like 1 minute you're laughing and you're like, but it wasn't that sad. I was like, okay, but it is sad. Like, I'm legit crying.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm crying. I'm like, but are you? It's fine.
Yes, no, it's not, because I forgot what you sent me last time, and I was actually, I think it was I was at work, I think.
Oh, okay.
I was legit, my eyes were watery, and my coworker she's like, "Are you okay?" I was like,
"Not now.
Don't ask me." I'm over here typing. I was like, "I hate you." You're like, I'm literally crying. It's like, but so it's like you say they're not angst, but I feel like your books carry these very, very like hard subjects that they're very touching, and it gets to you. Like when we go back to Ethan's book, like Ethan's book was a hard one.
Ethan's book was hard. I think it was hard because to me it felt like full circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like when Callie left and then she's back, right? And now he's at the same spot, but now he's asking, like, he broke all these relationships and has to mend them. So yeah, Ethan's book was hard.
But see, it's like for him, it's like you feel bad for him. Well, for me, it was like I felt bad for him.
100%. Like for his whole life, he didn't know, like he was lied to.
That, but then you also, I guess, because you do it in a way where we saw his parents' book. So you get them. So it's like you're angry with him, but you feel bad. So it's like all these emotions bottled up together. So it's like, fuck, I'm like crying because I don't know what, like.
You feel bad for him, but you're also angry at him. Like, why did you leave?
Yes.
Why didn't you stay? Like, look at what they did for you.
Yes. And I think that's what part of your books does, because you do it in a way to where we've gotten a generation books. So it's like with each book, you get this, you already know the past. So it's like you're living with them and you're seeing stuff and you're like, I hate you because you don't know the whole story from what happened or how you got here. And that's what happened with Ethan. Cause I was like, I don't know, I hated him, but then I felt bad for him because I was like, you're hurting the people that done so much for you.
Like their lives were ruined. Like he left 8 years, like it was ruined. And like, you're not even thankful.
And I've read that book like 3 to 4 times and I cry every single time.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've read it more than once.
I would say the book, that one, Max's book, Max is hands down the one I can reread over and over and never get tired of it. And I read, which other one is, no.
Justice?
Yes.
Justice.
Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So I think if like the most read book of mine that I've ever read has to be Broken Love Story. Because to me, that is hands down one of the best love stories I've ever written. I don't know why. It was just like, they weren't supposed to fall in love. Right?
I feel that one. I think about it and it, because that's the first one, right?
No, that's the third one. That's the brother's book, like the brother and the wife's book.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well, from that series,
yeah,
the first one's my favorite.
Perfect Love Story.
Yes.
And that's so funny because I bought, like, I was at the grocery store ordering ham. And true story. And there's these groups with covers, pre-made covers. And I saw the cover and I was like, oh my God, this is good. Like, and I told my daughter the whole story. And she's like, you got that from this picture? I'm like, didn't you? Like, if you look at it, she goes, not even, she goes, the girl has nice hair. That's what I got from this picture. But you just like, yeah.
Well, I think for A Perfect Love Story, the reason I liked it was because Jensen, I think that's he was so mean. And there's a part of the book that I can't forget, and I think that's why, like, I love a mean hero. Okay.
He was so mean.
He was mean. And there's a scene where he like I forgot exactly how it goes, but she runs, Haley runs to get the little girl that falls.
Mila.
Yes.
Small, and he's like, give me my daughter. And it's like,
yes, and he is so mean to her. And I'm just like, and that scene makes me cry every single time because it is so sad. He's so mean.
I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook of Broken Love Story, like the last one, I was in my car sobbing. and I know what's gonna happen in the book.
Yes.
At least I remembered bits and pieces, but hear the narration, like Connor and I think her name was Joe, killed that book. That book was like the narration was amazing.
Would you ever touch that world again?
I mean, I think everybody is spoken for. I don't know who I would touch in that world.
Mila.
And this is also another thing that I really, really do wrong, is I make good side characters. And then everybody wants their book. And then, like, after I finished writing Michael's book, Only One Mistake, Danny, my publicist, was like, are you giving Julia a book? And I'm like, like, no. Like, you're gonna have people, they're gonna want Julia's book. And I'm like, good for them. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, because I don't have just two people in the book, it's always a cast of people.
Yeah.
So
but you always say no, but you always end up writing the books.
I mean,
we could use Mila's book. I'm just saying, like, it wouldn't hurt to see where she's at.
She's living a good life. She has parents who love her.
Let us see it. Let us see it.
It's also very hard to jump back into a world that you haven't been at for like 3 years, because like it's just hard. It's like the Something book, I think it was easy to write the last 4 books because I've written 16 books in this world. 16. So like the first book was like so easy to write because it was like family reunion for everybody. Everybody's invited to the family reunion. So it went by so fast, and it was just like, and then Michael's book was, again, it was like easy. I hated it. I still don't like it, but everybody says it's my best.
I loved it.
Yeah, everybody, like, somebody read it and they're like, it's so funny.
I loved it. But then again, I think you know why I loved it.
Yeah.
So
Max is the dad. So we get it. We get it. And then the last book, I think, took me the longest that I've ever written a book. The last book was, to this day, I think that would be the hardest book that I wrote.
Why is that?
Because I wanted to do it justice. I want to make sure that, people see the love story and then the side story. It's hard to like talk without because nobody knows what book. So
Yeah.
it's just I wanted to do the couple justice. So
being on this subject of the Something So series,
yes.
Where did the idea for Something So Right come from?
No clue. No idea. You would think I know what I'm doing. I don't. I have no idea what I'm doing. It literally was like, I don't know. I literally don't know. And a lot of my books have single parents, which is very opposite of what I am because I've been married for 25 years to the same man. He's the father of my children. We cope like we raise the kids together. I've never been a single mom. Yet all my freaking characters, at least one book, is a single mom or a single dad. And that's like, am I even doing it right? I don't even know.
The single parent books are like the best though.
Yeah. I mean, I write good kids. People say that I write good kids, but it's probably because I have my own children. And while I was writing these single moms, I was actually working. I was a principal at a preschool, like at a daycare. So I had the experience of the kids and how they act and stories from some single moms. Yeah. So I can't even tell you where I came up. I knew that it had to be a hockey book because I loved hockey. Like I love hockey. Is there any other sport really? No, not really.
How much research did you do because that was your first book. So how much research did you do? Because when you're writing these books, you always end up adding a scene where they're playing the game, where they're explaining what's going on in the game. So how much research do you do?
Well, I watch hockey. So I watch it. I've always watched it from when my son played it. So it was like kind of like second nature for me. Like I can write a hockey scene like play by play easier than I can write anything else. So yeah, hockey it's the only sport that I actually watch. I don't watch football because I just don't get it. I don't watch baseball because it's a long game.
Yeah.
I mean, also I'm from Canada. I mean, is there anything other than hockey? I think not. We have basketball, but again, I don't get it. I don't get it. So, yeah. So I think you should write what you know. So because I knew hockey, I stood with the hockey.
And it's funny because I've read other I love a sport romance, but I think I've read several hockey romance and I compared I shouldn't do that, but I compare them because you're the only hockey author that I continuously read.
Yeah.
You're the hockey romance queen. and it's like I compare them to yours because that's what I'm so used to. You're the one who I go, if they're like, I need a hockey romance, Natasha.
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer. So it's like I like that. But would you ever consider doing anything like a different sport?
I mean, if the story was that he played a different sport, I would have so the thing is I'm always afraid to offend people with my writing, with regard men, women, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. I don't want to offend anyone by taking like a football story and then I write a play and they're like, what the hell are you doing? You can't do that in football. And here now I've offended all these football fans who's like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Yes, I know. I'm aware. So it's just hard with trying not to offend people who actually write football and then I come in, the hockey girl, and he'll ride a football field, and like he's gonna kick it. I don't even know how far he needs to kick it, or how many he's gonna get, or if he has in this white line, out the white line, a flag goes wide. We don't know, but that's happening in the book. So, I mean, would I write it? I don't know. I don't know. I like to stay in my comfort zone. My bubble.
Your hockey, yeah.
Bubble. This is my bubble. And
So with that being said, I know that you've written the Southern series, the hockey series. So would you, or are you gonna, because these are two worlds that fans are like, readers are so in love with, they're so used to, but are you planning on stepping into a new world and giving readers a whole brand new family?
Yeah, the next after the Southern series, it's the Southern Wedding series, and that's a brand new family. So it's very scary when you start a new family. Like when I left the This Is Forever and went to Only One Kiss, brand new type of guys, brand new team. So it was like, it's hard because now the people will pick it up, but they're expecting the Something So Men, right? And the Something So Men are not there. And it's like, who are these new men and what are they doing here? So it's like you have to like rebuild it all over again. So I'm excited because I start on Monday. I start to I get my Remarkable out, my Remarkable tablet, and I write down notes, and then I'm building a new world. So that should be fun.
That's so exciting. What can we expect from that new world, though?
I have no idea. I can't even tell you if it's going to be like small town romance or rom-com, or is it going to be both, or like
because it brings me to say, because you did also write the royal romance. Was it the Hollywood? So it's like, would you ever write something similar to that? Because I know with you're doing your small town, you're doing your sport romance, but will you ever do a little bit side of, again, like the whole Hollywood series?
The Hollywood series was fun because I love Hollywood. I love the glitz, the glamour, the dresses, this, that. I loved it. I just didn't like the angst. There's a lot of angst and hate, and the last book, Hollywood Prince, Hollywood Prince, hated that book. I hate that.
Why?
I hate him. So bad. He's so bad. Things he did, I would not forgive him. So
again, I'm gonna go back with we love a bad boy and stuff. I loved it. So
not just bad, he was like rude.
Yeah.
Rude. And I was like, oh my God, don't do it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna do it. And I'm like, don't do it. And I'm like, he has to do it. And I'm like, okay, but I don't like it. I don't like anything about this. I don't like anything about this at all.
But it makes it more intriguing though, because it's like, you might say that they're mean, but he's
an asshole. He was not nice. He was not nice.
Well,
yeah,
it was good. So with this new series, it's you say you don't know anything, but is it like single parent?
So
or
they're not single parents. It's gonna be a brother and 3 sisters. And it's all gonna like, each book has to deal, so they're wedding planners. Except brother. I don't know what he's gonna be. I haven't decided yet. I know what I'm doing. Not really. So the 3 sisters, they have their wedding. They're wedding planners. One's the flowers, one takes care of the catering, and the other one does all the blah blah blah. Again, I don't know what I'm saying. This is what I think they're gonna do. And each book is going to revolve around their wedding. However, their wedding never takes place because there's always going to be a snafu.
Mm.
And it's always going to be like, you'll start every book with kind of like with the invitation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll end it with like a diary entry because somebody's pulling the strings.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
You should, I know you don't like it, but you should make the brother like very mean since he's surrounded by women.
Well,
Hey,
first of all, he's already going to have a huge thing to go on because he's marrying another girl and his ex-girlfriend's going to his wedding. So already, why are you looking surprised? Why do you look surprised, Jen? I showed you the blurb.
yes, but
And the cover.
but you always end up changing stuff.
I mean, do I?
Yes.
Yes.
We still need to talk about a certain cover though, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Yeah, I don't listen. I at this point, why this book took so long, like took everything from me. Usually going into a book, I start a book, I know I have the blurb, I have the cover. Bing, bang, boom. This book, the last book that I just wrote, Only One Forever, I could say the name because everybody knows the name. I had the blurb-ish. I had the scene in my head that I wanted to write. I have no cover. I thought I had a cover. I stalked the guy. Took me 9 months for him to answer me. I get the picture. I get a mock-up. I fucking hate it. It's disgusting. It's never.
It's not. It's really not. It's I like no.
We're just so, and then I'm like, why don't I love this book? This is why, because like I'm a person of, I have like step 1, step 2, step 3. So I went to step 3, which is writing the book, without step 1 of having a cover. So I'm doing everything backwards, and I don't like it. So yeah.
And it's true because this is the first time you finish it and the cover is not done.
Well, no idea. Will it even at this point? It's gonna have like a little, just the writing with a black.
Oh my gosh!
Blackout and just the cover.
Well, I will say this. I know that you say that you don't like the book. I loved it.
A lot of like everybody that has read it loved this book, and I'm like, really?
I loved it, and I think
But
it has to.
I can't connect with it because I don't have the cover. Honest to God, I have never taken this long to write a book. I went a good 2 months. There were days, no words.
Yeah.
Are you writing? Nope. Are you going to? Nope. You want to? Nope.
I would literally send her gifs.
Yeah, and I'm like, I know. It's not happening.
I'm like, I'm waiting.
Here
Like you literally left it off in a part where like I'm freaking dying and you're over there making amazing food on Instagram.
I'm making food because I can't make anything else. And like the book was plotted chapter by chapter. I knew what was gonna happen, but I could not sit down and write the friggin' words, and I fucking hated every second of it.
But pick it up, people. Pick it up.
Oh yeah,
Because it's amazing.
wait till you find out who it is. I think people are going to freak out for the guy, and
Well, I am so excited to talk about that book whenever it releases because there's so much stuff I want to say about it. And I remember when you told me about where you were plotting and you're like, but I'm not sure. I'm like, do it.
Yeah. And then this one, like, do it. And I'm like, this is my career. And then Jan's like, it's fine. Just do it. YOLO. Then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, it would be so good.
Mm-hmm.
But you're treading on like
it's a Yeah.
Because it like
We'll
you're gonna
talk
have
about it more when it
Yeah.
gets closer.
And
But
when-
once I think when the blurb comes out and
yeah,
people know,
yeah.
I think it's an interesting twist, I am gonna say. And I'm so excited for me to be able to talk about it because I'm dying. I actually loved it. I'm so freaking excited. And I'm
I was very this. I think this is the first book that had a side story.
Mhm.
Because not like the books that I usually write, like there's a love story and it's the building of the love story. This one had the love story, but it also had the side story that was really important to me.
Mhm.
So it was very like, I think this is the first time that the side story was like, I was really excited to get to this. Like they had to go through all this shit to get to the side story. But when the side story was there, I was like, I love the side story.
And I will have to say that I feel that your books, they touched on some subjects that they're sad. I mean, you've done addiction. You've done, where
And again, when I was writing that book, it was the hardest book first of all, it's the longest book that I've ever written.
and I'm just gonna say it gave me so much anxiety. Like, what's gonna happen?
Gave me anxiety because I never wanted to do a mockery about addiction.
Mhm.
And it's a hard struggle. It's not an easy struggle. It's not just like butterflies and glitter farts. It's literally an everyday struggle. So I literally researched it. Like I was on sites for addiction. I was on steps for addictions. I was on like 1 step, 2 step. There's a fly. 1 step, step 3. Like I made sure he went through all the steps because my biggest fear was somebody who struggled with addiction would read this book and say, this is bullshit. Like this can't happen. That was my biggest fear.
And I do remember when you were writing that book, I did tell you, because I work in a counseling office where we deal with addiction. And I remember I told you, you're like, well, I'm not feeling this. I was like, but that's how it is. Like, you're not sugarcoating, because you're like, maybe this is too much. I was like, no, you're not sugarcoating stuff. And that's where it was. I think that's one of the books that sticks with me the most, because it is a heavy topic, but you don't sugarcoat what is going on or his feelings. And it is, for me, I was shocked when you came up with that plot, because I was like, oh, like it's a little bit tougher than what you've written before.
Yeah.
It
was and like their relationship, it couldn't be like, I remember there was an editor that read it before and she's like, I think they should bang like a week in. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. It literally threw me off because I'm like, oh my God, should I make them bang? But then it just didn't feel right because he's learning to grow, right? And then he's not like, if he does that, he's taking a step back. To me, that's what it felt like. So yeah, so it was an interesting it's hard.
It was. And that's why I'm saying, it's like, I feel like, some of your books do carry, heavy stuff, like the one we can't really talk about, like what you talk about. It was heavy, and this
is forever.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, there's not everybody's lives are roses, and not everybody feels the same way as everybody else, and everybody has different opinions of whatever. And sometimes you're a person of circumstance. You don't want to be that person, but that's all you know. So it's like, you can take one person and say, look at this picture and what do you see? And then take somebody else and say, what do you see? And they're both going to see different things depending on where they come from. which I think you see a lot in the Southern series, like the last 4 books, because it's really like very different than, you know, somebody who struggled and didn't have any parents growing up, and then somebody who had all the love, and you show them 2 pictures and they're going to be like, this picture reminds me of bruises, and then somebody else is like, well, that looks like a beautiful sunset. Very different.
Yeah.
Very different. So it's yeah. It's deep.
Yeah, and it is. But I do feel that, I mean, the way you write these little plots, I mean, well, these plots and heavy situations, but the way you move your characters past it, I think that's the interesting part, because like when we have the situation with crap, I can't really talk about that book, but a situation I was like,
Pang is like, I don't even know what's going on.
well, no, but it's like what I was gonna say, it's like you do it in a way where it's like you're not just talking about a subject now and then you move on from it. It's like you write it in a way where it progresses to get your characters to a certain point.
Well, because it's real life, right? Like if shit happens in real life, it's not that you go to bed and tomorrow you wake up and it's not there. You're going to wake up tomorrow. If a bill comes in, you have no money to pay that bill. Go to bed. You'll wake up the next morning.
The bill's still there.
You're going to pay the bill. You're not going to be like, oh my God, today I'm going to go out and it's going to be sunny and sunflowers. And I'm not even going to worry about that $300 bill that I have to pay by the end of the week. And I only get paid $112. So it's real life. I really want to stick to real life situations.
And I felt like you did that a lot in the Southern series.
Yeah.
I think those are like real, even with your like hockey series, but I feel like your Southern series, you touched on a lot of family, real life situation stuff. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm thinking back at I think, was it Southern Chance with Callie?
Yeah.
Like that book is still, I love that book. I think, I don't know, I feel bad for Callie a lot.
Well, you feel sorry for Callie. Then you'll have 50% of the people that be like, why the fuck did she leave? Why didn't she talk to him? Why didn't she? Like, that shit happens in life. People make, people make up. This is real life. People can change the way their lives are going with one mistake.
And it's interesting to me though, because you read these books and you see different opinions of readers. It's like me, you'll have me defending most of the time now the heroine. Paying, we'll be talking about a book and she's defending the hero and we're like clashing and we're like, no, but she did this. And she's like, no, but he did this.
That's exactly like with the Callie. Like you had people pissed at Callie for leaving. Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she trust him? And I'm like, why didn't he just say, I didn't do it?
Yeah. And that's why I feel bad for her.
Right. But then what about him? You just left me without trusting me.
Yeah. I mean, you have your readers that, well, my side is the correct one though.
But that's, I had a lot of people, even my daughter hates Savannah. Like, she's like, you should have killed
Really?
her. Yeah. My daughter is like, if Savannah dies, it's fine.
Oh.
You should have killed Savannah. But like her, like, and then she's like, I don't care what you say.
I never saw her as the villain, which I know most readers did.
Savannah's book to this day, and even sometimes in my readers group, I don't post like, whose side are you on? Because it's like, you're going to have like people coming out to fight war for Savannah. And then you have people who's like, this bitch die. It's my daughter's one of them. My daughter was like, you can kill her. It's nobody's gonna care. And I'm like, I'm not anybody. He's like, okay, but if you do, nobody's gonna care.
But then when you actually read Ethan's book, though, you also see a side of her where it's like, it's not the person, in my opinion, that we met whenever she
No.
did what she did. And I think that's why I never saw her as, I feel bad for her.
18 years old. You've never fucked up at 18 years old.
Mhm.
And now
Yeah.
you're 46 or 40 or whatever the, like, there is one part where I pretend Savannah's dead, but she's really not dead. And like, oh my God, why didn't you just kill her off?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it is like, I don't know. You'll get people who love her and then you'll get people who hate her. And I was like, I just love them all except for Carter.
I don't.
Nice. Not nice.
I'll have to say, I'm part of the group who doesn't like Savannah.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
hated her since the beginning from the first book. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl, she was literally the villain. I totally did not like her. She could have just told everyone the truth.
Right.
And it would have been us.
Not as easy as that. It's not as easy as just telling everybody the truth when you come from a small town, because that's what happens in small towns. Not that I know, but from what I hear, I mean, and I will say, Savannah's book sold more than all the others.
Oh wow!
Really?
Yeah. I like to throw that in everybody's faces, and they're like, "Yeah, but Savannah," I'm like, this bitch."
Because everybody was curious on how you were gonna redeem her.
This bitch came to play. She's like, "Oh." So, boom. She you can hate her, love her. She outsold the other two. What do you got to say now? What? Like what?
I liked her, so.
Yeah, well,
she did redeem herself. She did redeem herself.
But that was the hard part of me writing it, is I had to redeem her. Because it's like Max. I had to redeem him. I didn't know how the fuck I was going to redeem him because he was like,
okay,
oh, but he was
he didn't mean everything that he said.
No, I'm talking about in Matthew's book. He was a dick.
He had his reasons.
Yes, but that's the thing. I had to redeem him. But to this day, my daughter's favorite book, I think, is Max. Also, she goes back and she rereads that book all the time. But she
love that book.
She won't read Mini Coopers.
Why?
Because she's older than him by 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
So she's like, that's wrong. Why should you have a child for? And I'm like, 3 years is not a child. She has yet to read Michael's, and I think she wants to read the last one, but I'm not giving it to her because too bad. Read Mini Cooper, and then I will give it to you.
It's so bad.
Yeah. She's also the first one who read Southern Heart and stormed into my room at midnight. Like, I had just wrote the end, and I sent it to her. It was 4:00 in the afternoon. Midnight, she storms in my room and goes, "What happens? What happens in the next book?" Like, I didn't even get to the next book. Who's the girl? Who's the girl? Like, I don't know. So, yeah.
Well, I will always, like I've said, Max, for me, I feel that, he was a douche in Matthew's book, but I feel like if once you get to know him, like, he had his reasons. Like, I don't know, I'm always going to defend him. He's always...
Everybody has the reason of why they're a dick. It doesn't make it right. You're still a dick.
Yeah. But we forgive him, so.
We have to forgive him. He's Max. You don't have to forgive Carter because he's a dick.
This is totally off topic.
Yes.
Would you ever collab with another author? If so, who?
I actually did a collab with an author. Madison Rose is me and Aurora Rose Reynolds. We wrote a book for fun. And then again, we left it on a cliffhanger. We don't know when the second one is coming out. So don't read it and ask me when the second one is coming out. I don't know. I would collab. Yeah, I think collabing would be so much fun. I think that I would love to collab, but like not tell the other person what I think is gonna happen, and like just throw it, like just write my chapter, throw it. She does with hers, throws it back at me, and then we snowball it, and then and it's probably gonna be a wish-wash of shit, but it's fun. So I don't know who I would like to collab with. I mean, there's so many good authors out there that I'd love to collab with, but would they collab with me? I mean, who am I? No one. So
no. Don't say. I want you to write a very angst book, like a hardcore angst book.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I just gave you
harder than that, though.
Oh my God, I can't. I can't. Like, I can't even deal with angsty books. I don't read angsty books. I don't. I like rainbows and glitter farts and leprechauns and everything tied up nice and neat. He loves her, she loves him, fall in love, and like what I feel what I write is like, ugh.
It gives me anxiety because you make me cry. I'm like, I don't know. And it's so funny. There was one time where I forgot which book it was. Natasha's used to always expecting an answer right away.
Yeah.
When she sends a book. And it's funny.
I read the chapter, and at the end of the chapter, you need to give me a little bit of it sucks.
Okay. But she said like she wants a response, but then when you want the next chapter, she leaves you on red for like days, and it's like a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I remember one day she did that, so I was like, oh my God, it's so freaking good. Like I want to know. I'm like, but I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction.
She didn't. You don't answer me, I'm not sending you the next chapter.
Like I was like, I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction to like have me beg her over and over to leave me on red.
Nothing. And I'm like, if you don't fucking answer me right now, you are not getting the next chapter. Nothing. Not a next chapter. And then she was literally writing, I know I have chapters in my inbox and I'm not going to read it. And I'm like, really? No, not today. Not.
So it's like, I feel like your books are like, I get so much anxiety because I was like, okay, I want the next part. Like, you can't leave me on this part of the book and you go and take a vacation for like a couple of days.
And then I'm like, if you want, I could send you the book when it's done. And she's like, no, it's fine. Fine. Or then I'll send it to her. She's at work. I don't even know she's at work because, I mean, in my head, all she does is sit down and wait for my chapters. And then I'm like, where are you? Where are you? It says you're active. Where
I'm like, I'm at the freeway. Hold on, let me pull over.
It says active. Where are you?
So from all your books, which one has been the hardest for you to write? Which one has been your hardest and which one has been the easiest for you to write?
The hardest, there's this is Wild, the addiction one. Unscripted. Something so unscripted because, I gave the kid cancer. He does survive.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, I don't kill anybody. And then I think, every time I go out of my bubble, I think it's the hardest one. Like Southern Storm was really hard for me to write because it totally was out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I'm used to just flourishing love story, and this was so hard because everybody hated her, and I had to make sure that everybody, like I had to make everybody fall in love with her, not just Bo, the whole America and the whole world. 700 million people, however billion people, however many people are on the world, they needed to fall in love with her also. So that, to me, that was the hardest to write. And then this book that I just finished, because, well, it's just a clusterfuck of emotions.
And which one has been the easiest?
The easiest, Max, Mini Cooper. Mini Cooper was done in like 2 weeks. Yeah, I still remember it was like every day was like 3 chapters, and it was so easy it was just so easy. Watch it, not totally bad, but it was just so easy to write. So Max, Mini Cooper, and that's about Sunshine. Sunshine was easy to write. Sunshine was easy to write because I knew it was gonna. Only the Manning. Manning was easy to write because I love that book. Can't forget my Manning. Only one night. Super easy to write because I loved it.
Like, this last one, I not keep going back to it. You say that, I mean, how long you wrote it in 2 months, right?
Yeah. It's a long time for me. Know this.
How long does it usually?
2 months.
Apart from these 2 months, what is your usual norm to write a book? Do you set yourself a time of when you start a book and when you have to finish it?
Yeah, I give my own. I like to be done in a month. 30 days writing a book of 70,000 words or 80,000 words. I think it's doable without overextending yourself and pushing yourself. So my goal is like 1 month. Yeah.
How do you come up with, and I think I've asked you this before, but how do you come up with deciding how long you want your books to be? Because was it for Victor? And that, I mean, it was long. That one was, I remember you're like, it's really long. I was like, it's okay. We all love big books.
Victor's is 2 books. Victor's is 2 Southern books. I like to, for my Southern series, I like to go between 65 and 70,000 words. I think that's like the sweet spot. It's like enough angst with the romance, with, the slow burn. I think it's enough. And then my hockey, I always say I want 75, but then I talk and talk and talk and talk, and then they're like 80, 85, 90,000 words. So yeah, I around between 65 to 80, depending on the story. But then it can go past it. And if it goes past it, well, it goes past it. It is what it is. I let the story decide.
You're like, let's see how I'm feeling today. Okay, so you mentioned that, I mean, you're on your 7th book of the Southern series. That is freaking amazing. I remember when you first started writing that series, I was like, I fell in love with it. I love Callie. I think she has to be my favorite heroine from the whole series. I don't know why. I love her. Yes. I mean, they're all very different. They're all different. But I felt like for her,
yeah,
it was, so I was very, very, and I remember when you told me which characters were going to get a book, when you mentioned Amelia was going to get hers, I was like, oh my God, I need her freaking book.
And it's funny because when I was going to start writing the 2nd generation, that secret in that book, that's the only thing I knew that was going to happen.
Really?
I'm like, whatever happens, book 3, that Southern secret, this is the secret.
And it was crazy because like I said, Natasha sends me a chapter like whenever she writes, she never told me
Never.
that twist.
Nope. Because I needed to see your like, if I tell you what's going to happen, it's not the same as when you're reading it and having that reaction.
Because you already know what's going to happen. Yeah. So I was very excited for Amelia's book. So the thing with me is I was, like I said, Callie is my favorite heroine of yours. I was very obsessed with that couple. I was like, I love them. And I remember I kept asking you, I want their kids' books. And you're like, well, shut up and wait in line because these characters are getting their books first.
In line.
But I was very excited for hers because I was curious to how you were gonna write, because we see her in the previous books. We get glimpses of her. So, but I feel that every time your characters, we dive into their book, like what you think their world is like, it's the complete opposite. And I felt that with Amelia, she was not who I expected going into her book.
No, I thought also the first book is who? What's her name? Southern Heart. What's her name? Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
I find so Chelsea is Savannah's daughter, and it was like, she grew up knowing her mother's mistakes and not wanting to follow into her mother's mistakes and not wanting people to look at her because of her mother, which is like something you never would have thought, because she grew up filled with love, right? Everybody loved her. She's both like, she had cousins, she had family, but there were still the kids that were like, your mom was a whore. So like that one was very like interesting to see how she, like, she saved herself. She didn't like want to follow in her mom's footsteps, and not that her mom did anything wrong, depending on who you ask. But yeah, it was very difficult it was very different to see how I would write it.
Mm-hmm. So, because with Amelia's book, Asher, I loved him. And I felt that he was very, throughout the book, without, diving too much and giving out spoilers, I felt that he didn't feel he was good enough.
Yep.
He didn't feel it was good enough. He was good enough. So how did you talk to us a little bit about that book? I know you said that you already had that twist planned.
Yeah.
So how was it coming up with, we've seen her parents, her brother. So it's like, how did you come up with their book? Where did Asher come from? Like, that's my question for you. Like, where did he come from?
I knew I needed a big secret. And I knew I needed a secret that nobody would guess. So, and then it had to stem, like, then I had to do the background of it. Like, how would that happen without the secret being revealed, right?
Uh-huh.
So it was just like putting the puzzles of the pieces together and just like seeing it in my head, like, how would it go, or where would he come from because of that secret? So yeah.
And that's another thing. I feel that these are your generation books. Like we saw the parents, now we're seeing the kids. Does it ever get hard? Because you have these readers who fall in love with, the first generation books. Yeah. How hard is it keeping up with, making sure you add these characters at a certain time? And you know what I mean?
Jillian from Only One Mistake was called Abigail, the whole book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
you're like, I'm changing it.
I go back and I have to change it because Abigail has already been used. Yeah, and Abigail was already in the family, and I had no idea because I didn't write her yet, but she's been in the family, so I had to change her name. So the character previously known as Abigail is now Jillian. So yes. I obviously don't track of any names because, again, I have no idea what I'm doing.
How do you come up with your characters' names?
Google. Oh, and my daughter. I a lot of times I'll go to my daughter and I'm like, okay, I need a girl's name. But now she stopped giving them to me because she's starting to give me all her favorite names that she's gonna name her kid. I don't want to mess it up. So now she's like, I'm not giving you any names anymore. And I'm like, oh my God. Not always about you. Apparently it is.
I love that. But no, I personally loved Amelia's book. I thought it was we saw different sides of different, the story with that twist that I am not going to reveal because I want everybody to be shocked. But I do feel that it was very unexpected.
Good.
You're like, I did it.
My work here is done. Mic drop.
I like how you did that little whenever you announced the secret Southern quote. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Well,
that was very catchy.
It's because that was the only thing I knew that was coming with this series. That was the only thing. So buried secrets never stay buried for long. You never know.
I love that. What else? I know we spoke a little bit about what you're writing next, but do you have any other plans for other series now that you finished with, your hockey? Are you going to continue writing hockey?
So there's another series coming after this one. It's going to be in 2023 because these books are for 2022.
I keep forgetting that they're not going to be released this year. And I'm like,
yeah, everybody's like, oh, but what are you writing? I'm like, I'm writing what's like next year. So, and they're like, I can't wait to tell people. I'm like, you have a long way to go.
Yes.
There is going to be another hockey series. I don't know much about it. I kind of know who the first 2 books are. Not sure about 3 and 4. I have the names, but I'm like, nothing is set in stone yet. But it's only going to be out January 2023. So
we have a long wait.
A year and a half. I
know, but it's the way it's going, it's gonna get here before you know it.
Time flies by faster than you know.
Yes, but thank you so much for being with us. It was so much fun. But you're good.
It wouldn't be drunk. It wasn't me. Thank you so much, guys, for wanting to do this.
No, thank you so much. And
I hope
by the time you did, and actually, no, you didn't. Why did you give Max only 2 kids? Because you never answer my questions. Every time I ask you, you never respond.
They got a girl and a guy and be happy. And I have one of that's like, oh my God, your characters, they're like rabbits. They're always fucking and they're always having kids. And I'm like, I know. But yeah.
But no, it was an honor having you here. It was so much fun. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
And happy release day, because by the time this podcast go live, your book is going to be live. So happy release day.
Thank you very much, girls, for having me over and for waiting for me.
No, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for being here on our podcast. We had so much fun. I had so much fun. I'm smiling nonstop. My cheeks are legit hurting. So it was an honor to have her here on our podcast today. And make sure you check out her release, Southern Secrets. It released on yesterday. So make sure you check out that. And if you haven't read that series, I highly, highly recommend you to read that series. It's a small town full of secrets, and you will totally be at the edge of your seat throughout every single book. You will laugh, you will cry, you'll be mad, you'll be frustrated, all the emotions. So make sure you check out that series.
And I feel that she said that she's like, I don't write angst, but I'm like, girl, like they have angst. Like, what are you talking about?
Yes, they're full of angst too. So once again, thank you, Natasha, for being on our podcast. Make sure you guys join us next week. We will be talking about the books that we finished reading and our time at the Driven Season 2 premiere in LA. If you guys have any questions, message us on Instagram. Our handle is BookBuzzPodcast. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.